Hi everyone, welcome to the Charlie Veitch channel. I'm here with Rob. Many of you may recognize him from a video I took outside the Tory party conference protests, and an American walked past and called the Soviet officer dressed Stephen, the famous EU megaphone loud guy. You called him a jackass, and I interviewed you briefly about that. Now, you then wrote to me about 2 weeks ago saying, Charlie, I'm the guy from the video outside the Tory party conference. Something happened which you might find interesting for your viewers. And so we got chatting, and I agreed. I heard the story. I said, Rob, I think this would be very relevant to my viewers' interests. So without further ado, if you could please just take us through the incident and what happened to you, Rob.
Sure, Charlie. Yeah, so I did contact you after that. So I didn't. So when you caught me on the video before, that incident, I didn't know who you were. I'd never heard of you. I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I don't follow any bloggers and stuff like that. And it all happened so fast that I had forgotten about it. And then the next day after that, after the Tory conference, a couple of people said, "Hey, Rob, you're on YouTube," and then they posted it. So that's how I kind of, it all kind of took me by surprise. Anyway, I've forgotten about it and, went on with life and everything. And then, as you said, something happened that was just kind of rocked my world a little bit. And so that's why I thought you were one of the people I thought of, because I know you at this point, you've got, I think, a bunch of followers and stuff. And I thought I just wanted people to know what had happened. And I couldn't let it rest. So what happened was, on the 13th of November, which was a week ago Saturday, I went out with some guys, some friends, most of the friends that I know, and we met at a pub in Stretford called Head, just to hang out and stuff like that. And basically, it was 9 guys, including myself, and we were there socializing, hanging out. But part of the reason was some of the guys are interested in Jordan Peterson, if y'all know who he is.
Oh, the Canadian psychologist.
Yeah. Who's famous for his 12 Rules for Life book. And they were kind of going through part of the book, and it was really about folks helping other people and that kind of thing. So we're just a bunch of guys that were hanging out and stuff, and different age range, and mostly British, but myself and a couple other non-Brits. So there were 9 of us at the pub, and we got there late afternoon, and we're hanging around. We were hanging out. We were sitting in a circle. We were talking. Nobody was drunk. Nobody was loud. We were sitting amongst ourselves. There was a pool table maybe 10 feet away from us. A couple people playing pool, and then there was a couple on a couch maybe 10 feet away also. Music wasn't loud or anything. And we were talking about Peterson. We were talking about politics. We were talking about just general nonsense. It was no big deal. But we were having a good time. We were laughing and talking, and it carried on. So that went on for a couple hours. Then the group started breaking up. I want to say about 7 p.m. So this was early. This wasn't late Saturday night. And then I was getting hungry, so I decided I was going to leave. So a couple of the guys were still there, and then I left and got something to eat and came home. About an hour later, I'd say maybe 8 p.m. or so, one of the guys texted me and said, "Rob, the cops just left." And I got on the phone and I called him right away. And I thought, cops? So I called him. I said, "What happened?" I said, "What do you mean the cops left?" He said, "After you left and most of the guys left, we were just sitting around, and we saw two police officers come into the pub, and they went over to talk to, I guess, the bartender. We weren't thinking anything of it, and then they came over to us and asked us if we were with a group of guys from earlier in the evening, and they said yes, and started asking my friends, what were y'all talking about? They wanted to know what we had been talking about, who we were." And my friends at that point are like, "Why do you want to know? Has something happened?" Something like that. And then the cops started asking their names and numbers. And my friends, I believe, refused to give them their names and numbers. They said, why are you here? Have we done anything? You know, and the cop said, no, you haven't done anything. But and then they said, well, why are you here? And the cops basically told them that somebody, well, I'm not sure if it was a patron or somebody from the management, I think it was maybe a patron, called the cops and said some of the conversations that we had been having were problematic. And the only things that the cops would say was that two of the things that we had been talking about, one of them was 9/11 and one of them was about COVID and masks and stuff like that. Well, when my friend told me that, I kind of freaked out because I was the one that started talking about COVID and started talking about 9/11. And I was thinking, oh my God, I wish I had been there, because if I had been there, I would have turned the camera right on and started filming the police and, you know, and wanting, you know, asking them, you know, the obvious questions. So when they said that about 9/11, I just started laughing. I said, well, you know, you remember, I said, I'm the one that brought up 9/11, but that was because I had said, and listen, I'd be the first to admit, I'm a conservative guy. I'm political. You know, I think I'm mainstream, but I consider myself political. Mm-hmm. And some of the guys probably would too. And, you know, we're just having a, you know, private conversation, or, you know, just, anyway. I had said, this is the ironic part, is that I had said about 9/11, I said that was one of the times that because I was living in the States at the time, you know, and I said 9/11 was one of the few times in my adult life where I remember the left and the right, Democrats, Republicans, all coming together, and for a short time, America was a united country. It was a united country. And so I said it in the context of something that was positive. Now, for the other thing about masks and COVID and everything, I'd be the first to admit, my feelings, I have really negative feelings about masks and mask wearing and mask wearers and all that. And I'm sure I said some things that, you know, a lot of people might not agree with. But I mean, you know, it was nothing that I'm sure a lot of other people haven't said or felt. You know, it wasn't. Yeah. Anyway, so the cops finally left. And my friends were kind of in shock, and that's when he and I started speaking. And so I kind of took that on board. So that was Saturday night, so of the 13th. And then I kind of slept on it, and I was really churning with all that. And as I thought, what am I going to do with that? I can't believe that's actually happened. It just did not seem. I thought, where are we living? We live in the West. You know, we live in England. I mean, that's, you know, I as an American, I'm protected by our First Amendment, but I don't know the laws here as well. And I'm thinking, well, I always assumed that, you know, Brits had this.
So, Rob, as you were just saying, you expected English people to have the same freedom of expression?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we don't live in Soviet Russia, you know, the old Soviet Union. We don't live in North Korea. I always assumed that, you know, I know that a lot of the rich history of this country and the things that, you know, the Magna Carta and all of that you know, it just this is like something you hear about or you've read about or something like that. Now, I know this is not the end of the world. Nobody was shot. Nobody was, you know, that kind of stuff. But that's not the point. That's totally not the point. And that's what upset me so much. So the Sunday, so the 14th, I woke up and I had to take a train somewhere. So I sat on the train for an hour and I wrote a long piece, a letter just about what had happened. And then when I was coming back to Manchester, I kind of rewrote it and everything just so it would all be out there and trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do, if anything? Should I do something? Should I just let this go? Like I said, you know, has anybody been hurt by this? You know, that kind of thing. And I just thought, no, I am not going to let this go because this is so wrong. This is so wrong. So I decided, I was thinking, what steps am I going to take? And at that point, I hadn't thought about you. All I could think about is the cops, Manchester police. Is this something that is normal? Is what led? Anybody can complain anything to the police, and I get that. But at what point is a complaint become something that you have to send police out for? What's the threshold for that? What did that person say or not say? And why did that person feel compelled to say something? Because I was thinking, did we say anything? I started questioning myself. Did we say something that would be considered, I don't know, did we didn't plot anything? We weren't planning anything. It's just guys talking. We didn't say anything that would rise to the level of a police action in my mind. So I decided this. I decided that I was going to go to the police station myself because I wanted a copy of whatever police action report, whatever was done. I wanted to see that with my own eyes to see what was said. Mm-hmm. So Monday I was busy. So the Tuesday morning, I went to the police station in central Manchester and went to talk to, I guess, whoever was there. And the gentleman at the front desk was super nice. I mean, he was very, very helpful. I told him what happened, and he was really kind. And I told him the story of what had happened. And he looked at me and he said, I think he was as shocked as I was, because he said, we don't live in Russia, we live in England. And I said, that's exactly how I felt. So he was very helpful. So I must have been there for about an hour and a half, and he gave me a case number. So I knew there was a case number, but he was not able to tell me anything about it. He gave me the information to request to get a copy of it, but he said you may not get it. I mean, I think he was pretty honest with me, but I think he supported what I was doing. So I left there. So when I got home later on in the day, I filed I don't know what you call it, some kind of freedom of information thing where you can get a copy of a police action.
Subject access request? Something
like that. I don't know all the lingo. But it said on that they have up to 30 days to do it, and if there's any other questions or that, but so I filed that, and that's part of. I think that's when I thought of you too, because I thought, this is somebody that this might interest you, and then I was also thinking, okay, what other actions should I and could I take? So I that's when I sent you an email saying, hey, this is Rob the American, do you remember me, blah 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 blah, and you were really kind, and you and I met up, and I told you what happened, and you said that's interesting, and you were kind of appalled by it too, if I remember. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything. And in the meantime, I have filed an official complaint with the Manchester police. On their website, there's a thing where you can file a complaint against actions or something like that. So I filed a complaint, and let me tell you, it hurts my heart to have to do this, because I was raised, in a small Texas town, and the cops were my daddy raised us where we looked up to the cops. They are our friends. You ever have any problems, and you do for them, because they have a hard, thankless job. And so I don't want anybody to think that I'm going after the police, because that's the last thing I want to do. I just want to find out what's changed or what's happened, or maybe the person that filed this said that we were plotting a new 9/11 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. Which I promised was the opposite of what we were doing. And so I wanted to know, I want to know what this person said. So I want to find out why this person felt compelled to make a complaint against us. It just doesn't make sense. Do we live in a country like that?
Yeah, I mean, I know. Sorry to jump in, but I know there's something in the American judicial system where you can face your accuser in court. All you're asking for is to be able to face what the accusation was, isn't it? Yeah,
well, I mean, just to find out. I mean, what rises to the threshold of the cops feeling the need to come out? Mm-hmm. Is this the best use of Manchester police time? I know this was a Saturday evening in Manchester. Are you telling me that 9 guys sitting around in a pub, just chatting and talking, is worth 2 police officers on a Saturday night coming to visit when? With all the stuff that's going on in Manchester, what's that about? I can't imagine a policeman would be proud to do that. That's not policing our speech. that's just wrong. That's just wrong. I mean, it's just wrong. And so, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to. That's my goal here.
For me, there's 2, maybe 3 aspects to this story. There's remember my theories as to what the caller must have said and what their intention was, malicious. And I kind of alluded to swatting in America, where people would call the SWAT team on their enemies just to get their doors busted down, and the SWAT team turning up with guns and stun grenades. Right. And so there's that. What did the person say? And secondly, as you rightly kind of questioned a minute ago, what is the threshold for an allegation? I mean, were they saying that you guys were building a device under the table, that you were singling out someone in the bar whilst sharpening knives? Because the way I see it, someone phones the police on a Saturday, oh, there's some people here, they're saying things I don't like. And the policeman, well, grow up, sunshine. Grow up, bucko. That's right. I mean, that's right. If I imagine if I were a cop and I was taking these phone calls, and I know they have a hard job, and I know they get lots of calls, and they have to make split second decisions and all of that kind of stuff. But if somebody called and I was answering the phone, they said, well, there's these guys that are sitting around at the pub, and they're saying things that I'm finding uncomfortable. Well, you would probably say, well, are they threatening anyone? No. Are they plotting some kind of thing? Well, no. Are they being loud and obnoxious and breaking stuff? Anything? No. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you just say, listen, I appreciate your call, but maybe you should just tell the manager if there's something or something, or just leave the bar. Just leave the bar. Exactly. Walk away. Exactly. Or even, this is what I could respect. If this person who called and walked up to our group and said, hey, you said something and it's really bothering me. I'm happy to have a dialogue with anyone and listen to what they have to say, and say, oh, we were talking about 9/11, but what did you think I was saying? It just doesn't jibe with that. And then the cops coming out. I just want, what I'm hoping for is, I want to know what the police, their regulations or whatever they use to decide that that's something that they have to they have to act upon. The threshold, The threshold of, exactly. Why would, I have friends that have had robberies and in Manchester and all kinds of stuff, and the police won't come out for that. And again, I'm not criticizing, because I know there's so much. But why would we need 2 police folks on a Saturday night? And so that's really what I want to know. And I don't know British law very well. I don't know British law, and I don't know what my options are in terms of that. And I'm not looking for anything other than answers. And just to expose this, because if this is going on in Manchester, maybe this is going on in all England. And I will say, when I've told some British friends about what I'm doing, they're like, Rob, are you sure you want to do this? Aren't you afraid? Aren't you worried that somebody will target you or the police or this? I said, no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I'm not scared at all. I mean, I still look at police as, they're there to support us and to help us and all of that. And I would, I would shake their hands if they were standing in front of me. I'm I'm not trying to cause any problems or anything like that. I just want to know the truth, and I want people to feel comfortable in conversations. If they're doing this to me, maybe they're doing this to other British people that are going to feel, that won't feel. I just feel that if people not speaking out gives those who want to tamp us down and not have free speech, it puts the fear in it. It's like, do we have to speak in hushed tones and silence or meet in private rooms like we're doing something? It just doesn't make sense. And I want that person who filed the complaint, I want justice from them. I want to know who. I don't need to know who that person is, but I want them to know what they did was wrong. In addition to the police maybe reviewing their things. So if there's anybody who's watching this who's maybe like a British lawyer and knows the law and that would be willing to give me some guidance or maybe help me or something like that, maybe they contact you and let me know. Again, I'm also a member of this free speech union that was started here. And I'm not,
I just think that this is something that affects all of us, and that's why I decided to fight back. So.
Well, there's a couple more things I'd like to add on top of that. It's all fascinating, and I will certainly forward this to a lawyer I know.
Maybe a solicitor.
Yeah.
I know y'all call them solicitors.
Oh, I think we all use the same term: lawyer,
whatever,
attorney, solicitor, barrister. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, Rob, the not murderous, but the gulagging intent in whichever barfly that was drinking a beer, overhearing the conversation of 10 guys chatting freely in a British pub, and his intent, he wanted you to be gulagged by the cops.
Well, this country has such a rich history, and I've made Manchester my home. I've lived in Manchester for 9 years, so I'm not just some tourist passing through, and I've lived in the UK a lot longer than that. I know I don't sound like it, but I have.
Yeah.
And I love this city. I love this city. I live here by choice. I could go back to Texas tomorrow if I wanted to. But I love it here, and I want it to be the best place it can be.
Absolutely.
And the history is so rich here, and I wish more British people would be proud of their history, because it is so many of the firsts and freedom and have started here and were carried on in the United States and everything. And I know that the soldiers and stuff, again, I don't want to inflate this into some huge thing, but people have died for things that in this history of the West, and given their lives for our freedoms and stuff. And I know freedom isn't free. It costs. And on the scheme of things, no, this isn't a big thing. I know I've said that, but I just think that these little bitty cuts that we take, and we censor ourselves, and we that's kind of, I think it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until before you know it, we don't have them anymore. And between the lockdowns and this and that, and being afraid to come outside and having to wear the masks and all of that kind of stuff, we're living in very strange times, and it makes me. I'm an old guy. I know I don't know how much time I have left, but I worry for the for young people, for the future, and that's really what what I think about. So
that's why you wanted to get this story out. Yeah.
Exactly. I want people to know what's going on around them, and to be a little bit braver, and to say something, because I know people feel feeling that they can't speak out, or they're afraid somebody will criticize them, or if they criticize this, maybe they'll lose a friend or a job situation. And if everybody does that, we're lost. You have to say something, whether it's about this or something else. And when you see something that's not right, you have to say something for all of our sake, because that's how they get us, is when we're afraid to say anything. And I refuse to live in fear. I refuse. So.
I refuse 100%. And Rob, I couldn't have said it better myself, and I just want to add at the end, political correctness is the language of those who are terrified of what would happen if they told the truth.
Yeah, I'm here on that one.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. And for all my viewers, please leave a comment. I'm sure Rob would be very interested to read what you all think.
Y'all be kind. Have mercy. I'm just one small guy.
And Rob, thank you very much for your time.
No, thanks for coming over, Charlie.